Hello, I'm Camellia. Thank you for your great support for MEGALOVANIA Camellia remix. I never imagined it would be so popular among both rhythm game community and Undertale community in general. It's the most played video on my channel. It's unbelievable. I had to make a celebration video for it because it got 10 million plays this time. It's enormous. I had to do something. I was planning to make another remix, but it would be awkward because the remix went really well. I don't want to make up something for a celebration, so I decided to make a celebration video as how I made MEGALOVANIA Camellia remix. It's kinda tutorial explaining what is going on the remix. I hope you enjoy this video and hope you enjoy the other remix as well. And of course, here with Hans this time, Hans himself. So let's dive into it. And this is project file which I used for making MEGALOVANIA Camellia remix. We can play wherever we want. You know. I'm going to explain everything about this project in short. So how about this melody? I make it with this synthesizer called Phase Plant by Kilohertz. Great. What I'm doing on this synthesizer is, so this is pretty much basic square wave. I applied this kind of weird shape. It's used for pulse width modulation. Basically, when the sound starts, it immediately changes the pulse width of this wave into this. It goes back to 50% like this and go back to the original 50%. So it gives the wave a bit modulated sound effect. Let's give it a listen with and without the effect. So this one's the with effect. But if we deactivate the LFO, it's kinda, flat. So I added this kind of attack effect to it. And then, so the next LFO is for vibrato, which is basically for modulating the pitch in very low frequency to make it wobbling. It's used for like this. So this is how we made the melody. There's another thing right there. It's pretty much the same. And I changed the pulse width effect a bit different than the main melody. So it's kind of a bit different than the one I showed. And this melody is made with another phase plant. This one is basic ways to make the tuned soul wave. We call it as super soul because this is the base one. And we add the tuning. As we add the tuning, it goes fancy, kind of distorted kind of sound. So we call it kind of super. And this one's very easy to make. We add two soul waves, and one is played on the original octave, while the other one is played on the higher octave, which is on plus 12 semitones. And also this LFO is used for vibrato again, and some filter, saturator. It's kind of distortion effect, so it gives kind of sound. And another equalizer, delay, reverb. It's kind of very simple. Also, I made another square wave. The tune square wave layer to it. Filter, saturator, EQ, and some delays and reverbs. So it's very easy to make. Oh, this section is kind of interesting. Okay, so after this melody, here's this one, and here's this one as well. So there is two twin lead harmonized each other. I think this one's also, it's by Phase Plant as well. It's basic square wave, detuned kind of style. And also, I layered this kind of bell sound. I think this one's Omnisphere. Yeah, it is. It's made with Omnisphere. It's literally called Power Synth. I don't know what it means though, but I use Omnisphere for like sample player. I chose a sound called Carry On Reality. And it's bell, how do you call it, mysterious kind of sound, so it's very great to layering it. And I use three synths together to make this melody. Oh, speaking of melody, okay, this section. So, in the climax, there's very aggressive kind of melody appeared. This one's created with another Phase Plant, and Nexus, another Phase Plant, sorry, it's behind, and then another Phase Plant. Phase Plant is actually useful. Okay, let's explain one by one. There's one like this high, very detuned style Phase Plant. It's made with two supercell, it's actually samples that is created with a lot of supercells played together. I rose the octave, 4 octave higher and 3 octave higher than original octave. So it gives this kind of high, squeaking kind of sound. And there's one more, like this kind of mild but fancy supercell right there. It's supercell X4. I think it's ROM extension, so probably you can find it without purchasing anything from ReFX, I think. And there's another, it's not heavy sound. And this one's also made with two supercell samples. This one's original octave, and this one's at the lower octave. It's low feel on it. And we applied one filter there, distortion there, and another filter there, and another distortion to create fancier version of distortion effect. It sounds like this. And there's another one right there. I want to make it sound like a bit acidy. We call it acid, created with old school synthesizer called Roland 303. I kind of want to create a sound like this, so I applied bandpass filter. So this is the original sound without the filter and distortion. And I applied a filter right there. It goes very focused on one frequency range. It creates this kind of kind of sound. And these four are combined together to create finale section to make it very gorgeous and intense. So this is the final section. So let's go to bass. So where is the bass? Yeah, this is. I also using this layering technique for creating bass as well. There's 4 tracks. One is its unique sound. I use dispersed saw and dispersed square wave to create this sound. How do you call it? Like it's kind of wet, but sharp wet sound. And this is created with disperser. It's very useful effect. It gives sound very wet and off-phased sound. It's very useful for creating this kind of bass sound. And I applied OTT right there, sausage partner right there, and shaper box. It's used for. So it's used for like creating backbeat groove. So this one gives the bass line to kind of offbeat groove. And this one's sub bass, pretty simple. I had one sine wave right there, a bit distortion, and another shaper box to create the groove. And there's another track. This one's very distorted. I used 3 separated saw waves to create this noisy sound. These 3 are modulated with noise wave. If we increase the amount of noise, it goes like this. Right? If we are on the right amount, it gives noisy, distorted effect to this waveform. Fat, rich, fat dry. And I apply filter, saturator, and distortion. Other one? Oh, this one's interesting one. So the last but not least, it's, kick. Let me turn off every single effect beside this kick. This is the original sound of this track, and this effect called I Wish made it this sound. I believe I Wish is to make short amount of wave hearable by human's ear. I Wish is repeating the short amount of wave. It creates very distinct sound. When I apply this effect, it goes like this, and some stereo effect, another OTG, sausage, and the filter effect, and then this groove, bass sound. Okay, this is how we create better bass. There's another bass section. I usually make 2 or more bass tracks to make it easy to understand. There's one, this kind of main bass section, and there's one like this kind of bass sound. It's called wobble bass or growl bass. It's used for like dubstep. I made it with Serum. Serum is like this, or it's very versatile. I don't want to explain one by one because there are so many serums, but basically what I do is turning on the sub bass, it's bottom, the lower part of the bass, the bottom part of bass, turning on to oscillators, waveform to it, modulating with filters, some other effects, compressor. This one's like chorus kind of effect, and here's EQ, distortion, chorus delay, and you can use other effects as well to make it wobble, like torque or like grooving on the rhythm. I use LFO or like macro, drawing this kind of like, you can see, wah kind of. So make it customizable. Oh, there's hello Papyrus. Okay, so here's the bass. What's this? Oh, this section is made with another bass plant. Like without attack, it sounds something like violin, but this is the original sound, and if we increase the amount of the attack, it goes like this. Very soft, right? So here's an acid right there. I don't know if it's proper name for it, but I call it a bit fancy style of acid. If it's without it, it feels like I need more to fill the space. So I usually add this kind of sound to, fill the space. So speaking of filling the space, I use this kind of sound. I use this kind of sound as well. I think this one's made with Nexus and Nexus.
Stop posting about Among Us!
And also guitar. Guitar is very useful if you want to make very chaotic club sound. It's very hard to use as main instruments because guitar is very rock, metal kind of feeling. It's very hard to feature as the main instrument. Speaking of guitar, I didn't record any guitar there myself, so I used this synthesizer, B Metal. If we input MIDI signal like this, it goes, it's great, right? I wanted to like remix without buying a guitar, so it was very useful. This one's orchestra hit. What did I use it for orchestra hit? Oh, it's short circuit, so I don't know where it came from. How about talking about drums? Okay, so there's a lot of drums. I used two separate different kicks for this remix. One is this kind of main rhythm, and one is for making speedcore section. To make it higher, bass plant once again. And there's layered kicks right there. One is from V-Dub, it's a Vengeance dubstep essential sound sample pack without the all effects. it sounds, normal kick. And I applied to distortions, filters, and there's one speedcore kick kind of sample right there, and another, and I combined these together to create this kind of speedcore aggressive, very distorted sound. Okay, so and there's a lot of effects. One I particularly use, and probably you didn't realize, is this kind of reversed sound effect all over the place. And there's so many effects. Actually, if you want to create something very fancy, you need a lot of effects. And there's this kind of riser thing to make it like pumped. And there's fall as well. Fall is used for like the riser build up the tension, and falls are releasing the tension into climax. About the strings and pianos. Piano is pretty much simple, to be honest. I could make it a bit more fancier than this. It's very, very simple, to be honest. This section. Or I don't need to explain anything. I don't know. What I use for piano is Keyscape. It's actually one of the best sampled piano software. I love this cinematic preset because it sounds soft and kind of muffled and realistic as well. I like this sound. Speaking of strings, where's the strings? Where's the strings? This one. Here's the strings. And for the strings, I used Albion 1. It sounds very, very good, to be honest. Yeah, it's very realistic. Right before the climax, I used this kind of rising structure to build up, build up the tension for the climax. When the melody rises, it gives much more power to release. And then we go like this section. Probably I explained this section in the Megalovania Easter egg video, so probably you are familiar with it. So this one's like very much like this. It gives the open, rich, kind of beautiful atmosphere in the end of this remix. And I think there's this kind of music box. It's a simple music box sound. I applied basic room effect, so it's very wet, very reverbed. Oh, there's this kind of section to outline the melody. One is also the strings by Albion 1. Yeah, this melody is very simple. But there's another one. I think this one's Omnisphere. Oh yeah, Luminosonic. It sounds crystal kind of beautiful sound, so I really love to use this kind of sample from Omnisphere. It's really good. And this sound as well. I think this one's is plant once again. And it sounds similar to the original soundtrack from the Undertale. A bit complex than the simple one. Or you notice that the sound is like do 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 do. It sounds like reverb, but because of the limitation of the Famicom NES era's hardware limitation, they had to imitate the sound, and probably Toby wants to recreate that NES kind of lo-fi technology sound to make it similar to the original Undertale sound. I applied very delayed envelope to the gain, the amplitude of the sound. It increases the amplitude, so it goes like this. And then, if I increase the amount, it goes like this. Bring it back to the original. Or you get the idea. So there is one thing I didn't mention about it. The main melody is bad boy. What? You know this sound. And I used a sound font, and probably you can find it anywhere on internet. And I think this one's the best. It's called the Definitive Megalovania sound font. I think this one's the best so far. The best sound font for creating Megalovania sound. It's very, similar to the original sound. And I applied some reverb effect right before the in the build-up section like this, and sometimes it's with the lower octave like this. If you want to see, there is one upper octave and there is a lower octave to create this kind of low Megalovania phrase. And right before the papyrus drop section, I applied the effect that rising the pitch upper and upper. It goes like this. It's very much simple. It's very unique phrase from the Megalovania, the original Megalovania. So I didn't want to change much about that. It was great that someone provide the exact same sound on internet free. So probably you can use it in your daily creation, I think. And actually this one's exact same with the original phrase, so I don't think there's so many things to explain though. I cut the lowest frequency just in case that is too noisy. And there's some reverb effect just to create a bit more atmosphere. So I think I explained everything about this remix. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for your huge support on this remix, other Undertale, Deltarune remixes, and other original or remixes uploaded on my channel with everywhere. I keep hearing huge warm feedback from you guys, and I'm so thankful to your continued support. Thank you so much. I don't upload video like this frequently. It's very special this time, but I hope we can see someday again. So see you next time.